Hello everyone, this is part 28 of What If Naruto Was in the 7 Ninja Swordsman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Kirigakure. May Terumi watched the entirety of their village arrive at the gates to watch the return of their triumphant army led by the greatest Mizukage of their nation. Even as they walked through the entrance with a thunderous applause from their citizens, Naruto led the victorious army with his usual calm and composure while humbly acknowledging the respects he was shown by the villagers with a few waves of his hand. Behind him came his infamous generals and admiral, formerly the 7 ninja swordsmen, who were met with equal cheering, an act which made them all swell with pride. Even she, the hated Jinchuriki, at one point was met with rave cheering not only as the Mizukage's wife but as an important warrior of this nation. It gave her peace and showed just how much had changed in her life in a very short span. But it was not the time alone that had changed. She remained the ever silent and dutiful wife even during the ceremony that came after, where her husband honored all their wars, awarded medals and golden crowns for bravery to many veterans, gave a thankful speech to all his men, and honored his promise of freeing the families of their martyrs from ever paying taxes again, an oath he had given to those men and women of Kirigakure who themselves in his battles. It was late evening by the time they finished the duties and were now heading back to their home where their children would be waiting. Even then she was silent as she looked at the enigma of a man walking beside her. There was no doubt in her mind about his prowess as a shinobi and a kage. She had never seen such a charismatic and brilliant commander like him in the shinobi world, a fact acknowledged by even other kages after his heroic victories. He was loved by the people of Land of Water, even the former of Land of Lightning and the other territories they had seized. Under him many things had changed in this world, for the better. Even in their marriage, he had always treated her with respect and compassion. He loved their children dearly. If someone looked in her life from the outside, it would seem perfect. Many even told her so, and yet it wasn't. Far from it, for she had started to notice the changes within her husband recently, not to mention the disturbing rumors she had heard about an affair that he had with that Uzumaki mercenary during their campaign against Kumogakure. Thankfully the woman had went away herself after achieving that goal, thereby quelling any further rumors. Naruto, however, had made no effort to crush them in the first place, choosing to let them run its course and in time. A strategy which worked for everyone else, just not his wife, who was dismayed by his actions. May knew theirs had been a political union, to benefit their standing and future. But she had seen a brief flicker in him, that somewhere deep down he felt something for her, and in time it could transform into something eternal. A childish dream of a naive young girl. For she knew now that his heart would always belong to his first wife, Ino. He very rarely mentioned about her in May's presence, but whenever she had seen the sheer joy and life in his eyes, a feeling he lacked very much in their interactions. There had always been a distance between them, but also trust and understanding. Something which was also slipping away rapidly as he was keeping things from her, making secret trips, and had kept a truth as grave as the existence of the Otsutsuki from her. Now that the 6 Tails had explained just what threat they represented, it was fair to say she was not at all happy with his recent behavior. Still, she kept her calm until they reached their home and settled in. She checked on her children first, even though she knew the babysitter from her clan would take good care of them, and then joined her husband for dinner, which went peacefully without a word being spoken, even so she could sense a lingering sadness within the man even though he had achieved so much love and victories. Something was wrong with him, and it became crystal clear when hours later she found him standing near the cradle of their twins with few tears slipping from his eyes. "Will you talk to me?" she asked gently. There was a time when seeing him like this would have made her want to comfort him immediately, but the chasm between them was getting wider and wider, much to her sorrow. When he looked at her, May saw the way his shoulders were slumped, and he looked so tired but nodded as he walked with her towards their adjacent room. As she gained a seat on their bed, he walked towards the nearby table and procured a sealed dossier from one of the drawers which piqued her interest. "I'm so sorry, May," he whispered sincerely. "Are you, Naruto?" He flinched on her cold retort even as he gained a seat away from her on a chair and slumped in it quickly. "It's time I tell you the truth, all of it." You deserve to know, said Naruto hesitantly, before it was too late. A thought which he kept to himself. I know you broke our wedding vows. Don't deny it, said May bitterly. She didn't understand why he seemed surprised that she knew, but there was also another emotion in his eyes that made her even more nervous. It was as if he was hiding even worse things from her. Yes, he confessed, making her tear up instantly. Why? I have given you everything, haven't I? What made you do this? She asked tearfully, which made him lower his head in guilt. You have given me everything, May. It's just. You don't love me. His eyes widened in shock upon hearing those words and had to fight every nerve inside of him that wanted to jump and console the woman that was breaking in front of him. But he had lost that right long ago, even so. That's not true, May. I did try and I do love you, he said honestly, for it was the truth. Despite everything, a part of him loved her dearly and hated putting her in this situation. It was exactly why he had not pursued a relationship with Kushina or asked Ino to come back into his life, for he would only end up hurting him as well in the pursuit of his goal. And they deserved better. All of them. Then why? Asked May angrily. The answer to that lies in who I am. My past, he whispered hesitantly, even as he got up from his seat to walk forward and offer her the dossier which Hanzo Uzumaki had created and entrusted Kushina to leak should he go out of line. An evidence that damned him completely and revealed his true story. May's eyes widened in surprise when she spotted Azushiogaku's symbol on the dossier and froze in shock when she opened the first page as her world came crashing down. For there lied the greatest betrayal of her life and that of her country. My true name is Minato Namikaze, former captain of Azushiogaku's Spartan Black Ops. He watched all color drain from her face upon hearing those words as she stared at his service record, where a much younger version of him stared back at her with the most determined and vengeful gaze she had ever seen in a person. She became more and more numb as she read through his exploits in the First Great Ninja War, his family history. My mother was Inoue Namikaze and my biological father was Tobarama Senju, although these records have no information of that, for my mother kept it a secret from everyone and told me about it only before her death. Through them and my ancestry, I have the B of the Namikaze, Senju, and Uchiha clan running through my veins, said Naruto honestly. What are you saying? What is this? Asked May in horror. My truth. I was a spy. May felt her heart stop momentarily upon that confession, even as her body started to tremble in absolute fear as she stepped back from this stranger, this traitor sitting near her. But for some inexplicable reason, she couldn't attack him or run away, because even now all she could see was the face of the man she married. She couldn't do anything but listen as he told her everything, about his past, how he ended up here, how he played their entire nation to achieve his goals and fulfill his mission. As she learned more and more, she felt sicker than she ever had and vomited her dinner, even as he made no move to stop her or be repulsed by it. However, it also explained quite a lot of mysteries that she couldn't understand earlier. Why he pushed Lord Genjutsu to wage war on Kumogakur, why the alliance with the Land of Fire and its allies, why the Land of Lightning was crushed so mercilessly, how Kiri got its hands on winged device technology which only the Spartans of Azu had in the past, that Uzumaki mercenary woman who was his first love and a fellow Spartan survivor, why he had insisted for Tobarama to meet their children, and so much more. Do you have any idea what you have done? To me, my clan and father, my children, she yelled in absolute rage. He didn't flinch or back away when his wife charged forward and gave him one of the hardest punches of his life that sent him crashing to the floor. She didn't relent and continued attacking him furiously, even as tears continued falling from her eyes in an unending rain. Why? She kept crying that single question over and over again until she ran out of strength and looked at his badly bruised face. Monster, do you have any humanity in you at all? You play the bad guy next. Hanzo Uzumaki's words echoed through his heart once again as he looked into his wife's broken gaze. Just as that man had taken everything from him, he too had taken everything from the woman in front of him. An endless cycle. If you want to save your family and everyone you care about, keep walking forward in this hell. It will be a painful journey, but you must see it through. Fight for their freedom. Madara's advice made him clench his fists, even as he wanted nothing more than to disappear for putting May through something like this. Even so, his reckoning had not arrived. Not yet. Answer me. She screamed at him. You're right. I'm the bad guy. I did betray all of you and did all that you know now, he whispered somberly. Naruto the Great. Maybe that's true, you are this nation's, no maybe the greatest traitor of humanity. A devil who thinks only about himself and would destroy everything for their own goals, said May disappointedly. Those words see deeper than any blade, be his heart more painfully as in him lay a cold and bitter truth. He steeled himself as he summoned the dark ash-like chakra from his body that grabbed May fiercely even as she struggled violently. Removing her from top of him he sent her crashing on the bed reducing the worst of the fall even as he got up on his feet. Summoning nature energy, he healed the wounds on his body that she inflicted knowing the ones to his heart would never heal. Neither would the ones he gave to her own. He could see the clear fear in her eyes now for she knew the power he was capable of. If needed he could kill her right now and none would dare question him over it. What are you going to do to me? She asked hesitantly. Nothing, said Naruto honestly. May barely managed to catch the scroll he sent her way and upon opening it, she was left speechless once again. It's too late for me to turn back now. Neither can we have a change in our leadership right before the Cage Summit, but that don't is my resignation as the fourth Mizukage as well as the admission of my crimes. I take full responsibility for all of it, even if I never really did anything to truly harm Kirigakure despite being a spy, said the fourth Mizukage. Zabuza was right. We all should have trusted him, but we were so blind and so are you if you think your actions help this nation and everyone you say you care about. She retorted angrily. She stepped back nervously when he marched towards her and looked at her with his cold red eyes. Even if you all knew, do you truly think you can take me down? IKA tailed beast when you all were barely learning to not s yourselves in a fight, I have been in more battles than all of you combined have been alive. I can K any of you easily if you get in my way, warned Naruto mercilessly. May looked away, unable to meet those eyes that she had once loved so dearly. It had all been a lie all along, the man she and every one of her countrymen thought they knew, never existed in reality. But as loath as she was to admit, he was the strongest shinobi of their nation and a brilliant military commander. He had used Kiri for his own ambition but in doing so had also made it a power that the entire world respected and feared. He had changed all of the destinies. Why did you tell me all of this? Why now? She asked tiredly. To protect you, and our children. The anger within her heart flared even more upon hearing that confession, yet another feeling also arose within May when she looked at his heartbroken gaze. In this cruel world of shinobi, the longer you live, the worse you end up becoming. If I knew it would come to this, I would have preferred to a long time ago. I know my sins, May. More than anyone else, when the time comes, I am prepared to face my judgment. But I won't drag you, our children or anyone from this nation in that path. It's the least I can do to atone. Even though it will never be enough, he confessed sincerely. You're right. Your sins are unforgivable and you deserve whatever hell awaits you. Get out, replied May icily. He nodded stoically even as his eyes bore into her very soul. Keep your silence until the right time. For your own sake and the children, he said coldly, earning a glare from his wife. Don't pretend to care about this family, monster. I will protect my children from your sins, hissed May bitterly. You're a good mother, the children are lucky to have you, he whispered thankfully, a gentle look arriving in his eyes which made her heart break even worse. Just go, she whispered tearfully. And he did in a flash as she broke down completely for the life she had just lost. Naruto sat on top of one of his favorite mountains observing the mist village in all its glory at night even as its citizens celebrated their victory alongside their shinobi who were finally home. The fact that this place was also where May had proposed to marry him was something he was willing to blame on his need for nostalgia. His tears had long since dried up yet the pain in his heart burned like a raging inferno swallowing his very soul. He had known the price he would have to pay for achieving his goals and restoring the family he had lost back to life, but it was still heartbreaking. Even so he had no choice. Madara had held up his end of the bargain truly and he was not one to break to his own word. It was all he had left when he had lost everything. You've grown into quite a handsome man. He paled upon hearing a voice he had nearly forgotten and had never expected to hear again. Hesitantly, he looked back to see the woman who had given him life looking at him with a tearful smile. Mother. Inoue Namikaze looked exactly as the way he remembered, unblemished fair-skinned with long golden locks flowing freely in the air. Her kind blue eyes held the same warmth and love that he had missed for so long. Just seeing her alive and standing before him made the pain he was enduring and would continue to worth it. How are you here? I left you and Yahiko in a zoo with Nagato, he asked hesitantly, even as he got up on his feet and was soon embraced in a fierce hug as she sobbed in joy. He returned the gesture wholeheartedly, for once thankful to be loved unconditionally. A Harashan mark never disappears, but you already know that, my son, said Inoue calmly. He looked at his right arm to see the very same mark becoming active as if to emphasize her point. She had marked him with it during the first Great Ninja War alongside Nagato in order to come to their aid instantly if they got in trouble. I see. You look tired, said Inoue sympathetically, even as she caressed his cheek which made him smile. Sometimes I feel this is all a long dream. That if I just wake up I'll find myself back in our home alongside the rest of our family, he whispered reluctantly. Nagato told me everything. What you went through in this hell, how far you went for us all. I honestly don't know what to say, Minato. I lost that right the moment I left my boys alone in this miserable world, said Ino miserably, as tears arrived in her eyes once again. You asked to save us on that battlefield. That S saved our lives and gave Azu another day to fight, replied her son compassionately. I still can't forgive myself for all that my boys endured. Now we have another chance thanks to you, let's just run away from all of this. Yahiko, me, Nagato, I heard about a girl Kushina who loves you dearly and your children. Let's just go to a quiet place and live the rest of our lives in peace and happiness. We all deserve that, she pleaded with him. Inoue looked into her son's eyes and saw clearly that a part of him wanted exactly what she was proposing, but another more stronger part of him wanted something else. If I don't stop this cycle it will only happen again someday, mother. With more grave consequences, besides I gave Madara my word that I shall help him achieve this dream that I now believe in too. He kept his promise, brought all my family and friends back to life. For that alone, I would dedicate my heart to our cause, said Naruto sincerely. And take on the entire shinobi world. Just the two of you. I don't doubt the power the two of you hold but against that kind of opposition. Inoue paused instantly when she saw a knowing glance present in her elder son's eyes alongside a small smile. We'll put an end to this conflict-ridden world. As descendants of the Sage of Six Paths, heirs to the Uchiha and Senju bloodline, it is within our power to make a difference. Even if it means we have to fight against the entire world to save it from its own sins, the irony of that isn't lost on either of us, said Naruto with a faint chuckle. Only death awaits you on this path, Minato. That and the hatred of this entire shinobi world, for they will not accept your wishes, warned Inoue with a heavy heart. She watched as her son placed her hands gently upon her shoulders and gave her a comforting smile. If that is to be my fate, so be it. It shall be the price of my sins. If I don't do this then I would never be able to live with myself for not doing anything to create a safer and peaceful world for my children. Forget about me, mother. The son you knew a long time ago, all that remains is a man who desires change no matter the cost. I shall keep moving forward until I achieve my goal, so it's best if you free yourself of me, requested Naruto gently. Is that why you are pushing everyone away? Your family and friends, your wife and children, me? Asked Inoue furiously. I am finally free. This is a path I chose for myself, let me go. Mother, whispered Naruto, as he clenched his right fist and thumped it over his heart. He watched heavy tears fall from his mother's eyes as she recognized the Spartan salute he was offering, one she had seen her younger son and his comrades back in a zoo performing quite a lot. She looked at this person in front of her truly and for the first time recognized that while he had the face of her son but was a completely different person in reality. The child she had given birth to and loved dearly. The boy who had sought freedom for his island nation and justice for his loved ones, was gone. The only thing that remained was a determined man with a vision of his own. A faint smile arrived on the Mizukage's lips when his mother returned the salute he had offered and overcame her grief to look at him with the respect she would offer to a fellow shinobi whom she acknowledged. He was further surprised when she moved the clenched fist placed upon her heart right upon his own, and this time she could not hold back her tears. Devote your heart fully to this future that you wish to create. Those that can't anything could never bring true change. I believe you can achieve your dream, and no matter what happens I will love you regardless, whispered Inoue as she came closer to offer him a parting kiss on his forehead. Take care of Nagato and Yahiko for me, replied Naruto with a smile, even as he fought his hardest to stem the tears that wanted to escape from his moistening eyes. I will, promised Inoue, which made her son laugh as well. Thank you, mother. Few days later, Naruto looked at the members of the 7 ninja swordsmen assembled within his office. In the corner of the room stood his wife, who had not spoken a word to him ever since his confession. The only solace was the fact that she had not revealed his true identity to the people yet, not that she could do so openly without jeopardizing her clan and their children's lives. But it was clear whatever feelings she had for him had ceased completely. It was necessary for what was to come. The Tsuchikage is mad if he thinks we'll allow him to host the world's first all-cage summit in his village, said Amayuri angrily, as she pointed at the official scroll which they had received from the said cage post extensive negotiations with Konoha and every other shinobi nation of the world, big or small. He's the loser, agreed Jinpachi. Lord Fourth, I sense you are not too against this proposal, said Kisame suspiciously, earning a nod from the blonde cage. Let them play their little theatrics. In doing so, they are playing exactly into my plan. He watched contently as nearly everyone looked at him with confusion evident upon their faces, all except for Kisame, who stared at him for a long moment before the man's eyes widened in shock. So you figured it out, Kisame, commented the Mizukage with a smirk. What? Asked nearly everyone in unison, as they turned towards the sole swordsmen who had, as per their cage's statement. Despite having fought alongside you for so long, we couldn't figure it out. We truly sometimes forget just who you are, Lord Fourth, said Kisame with a cunning smile. What do you mean? Asked Mangetsu curiously. The only reason we didn't continue the second great ninja war so far was because marching towards Iwagakure and its lands would be a brutal and B campaign, more than that other nations including our allies are wishing for peace. Kiri would have stood it out as a threat against that to other nations had we continued our long march before negotiating for a favorable peace at least once, explained Kisame patiently. Since when do we care what the others think? If the situation was reversed, do you think they would have given a damn about us? Asked Jinpachi disappointedly. Appearances matter, Jinpachi. Deception is a key part of warfare. Many of our victories were because of that. The enemy, in their effort to showcase their might, has invited us directly into their home, thinking we don't have the balls to do anything there with the entire world present and will have to accept whatever he tells us in his own stronghold, said Kisame, earning a nod from the blonde cage. Isn't that dangerous for us and a black mark against our fearsome reputation that we are going there instead of them coming to us? Asked Haku curiously. Not if they refuse to accept our terms for a new world order. Should they refuse and stand in our way, then our legions would crush them alongside the leadership of every other nation in one swift strike, answered Kisame. How do you plan to march our entire army to Iwagakure itself without anyone noticing? Mangetsu's question was left incomplete when Zabuza realized its answer and pointed at the cage sitting in front of them with a cold smile upon his lips. Lord Fourth and his Harashin, he is the key to this mad strategy, whispered Zabuza in disbelief. May watched how swiftly the other swordsmen were surprised upon learning just what their leader had planned and how their opinions changed swiftly as they all smiled in appreciation, even Zabuza. But she couldn't, for now she knew what kind of a man lurked behind that brilliant military commander. The other nations thought they knew him, so did Kirigakure and its shinobi. At one point she had felt the same, but now she didn't anymore. The cage summit, this possible military strike, the Otsutsuki secret he was planning to reveal, it was all a smokescreen for his true intentions. She listened in silence as he explained their military strategy for the next hour to his trusted generals, the ones who will be his plan, and led Kirigakure's legions and navy into this daring, this mission. Yet even in that madness she could still see a glimmer of hope, for his plan was truly well thought out. Anyone else wouldn't be able to this strategy. But Naruto Namikaze was unique and had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. If Iwa and Konoha alongside the other smaller nations don't accept our concerns or wishes, then we must be prepared to crush them. It means going to war against the two strongest nations, maybe even the entire world if the smaller nations join them. Are you prepared for that kind of war? For it will be unlike anything we have ever seen, warned Naruto. He got up from his seat and walked amongst his comrades to look into their eyes with absolute conviction in his own eyes. Ask yourself, are you truly prepared to give your heart and soul for humanity and this nation? To the bitter end. Anything less and we shall lose, for when the world shall crash down upon us with its entire might, our shinobi will look to you for guidance in that dire hour. You must be the light that guides them through that darkness, no matter what, explained the Mizukage seriously. I am prepared for that. The 7 ninja swordsmen looked at their cage as he made that pledge, and most were surprised with the unwavering determination in his eyes. This was a man willing to walk into hell with a smile and face the worst nightmares that awaited them bravely. Mei's anger simmered down a little when she saw him clench his right hand and thump it over his sea. The Spartan salute. Now that she knew his past, she could see how important this was to him. It was a part of who he truly was, something which she could not forget or forgive. Give your heart for the future of humanity. His comrades returned the salute with firm nods before exiting his office to think about what their cage had just proposed, leaving him alone with his wife, who was staring at him with an unreadable expression. What? He asked. You're a true deceiver. Even the devil could not convince every person to sell their souls, but you could, and maybe that's why the Azukage chose you, said Mei sarcastically. Mei, you're so broken from inside that to maintain your sanity you actually convinced yourself to start caring about the very people you were sent to spy upon. You think you care about them, no, you actually believe it to be true even as you lead them to their doom. That is your true crime, Naruto, said Mei angrily. And what are you going to do about it? He challenged coldly with an icy glare. You'll know the answer soon enough. She left with those scathing words, and he was not surprised when moments later one of the white Zetsu clones emerged from the wall in his office. Should we take care of her? He asked casually. No need. She's doing what I expected her to do, it doesn't affect our plan. One way or another, we shall achieve Madara's dream. We shall unite humanity and bring an end to these senseless wars forever, promised Naruto. Madara thinks you're being too hasty by revealing what you have to Mei so far. Just because she's your wife doesn't erase the fact that she is a Jinchuriki and we need the beast inside of her. Don't forget that, warned Zetsu, earning a furious glare in return from the cage. I haven't told her our plan. Madara gave me what I wanted, he'll get what he is owed as part of our deal. The how you leave to me, is that understood? Asked Naruto as his dark ash-like chakra swirled around the creature, threateningly making it raise its hands in surrender. Don't shoot the messenger, General. Then get out of my sight before I burn you alive. The clone fled swiftly the way he had arrived, leaving the 4th Mizukage to sigh tiredly as he walked back towards his desk and sat back in his chair. 2 weeks. He would be meeting every cage and head of state from every corner of the world. All of humanity will be gathered together in one place in several years. He looked at his hands and was surprised to see they were shaking terribly. For once he allowed himself this small luxury as he contemplated the sheer scope of what he was about to eat in 14 days. Either a new era of genuine cooperation in the shinobi world, or a conflict unlike anything this world had ever seen to save the soul of humanity itself. He would either be the creator or the destroyer. The sheer weight of either consequence made him tremble badly as he wiped the sweat from his forehead with his shaky hands. His eyes then landed upon a corner of his desk where there was a picture of him and Mei holding their twin children with cheerful smiles upon their faces. A soothing sense of calm washed over his troubled heart as he remembered what he was truly fighting for. He gently grabbed the picture and caressed his thumb over it even as a lone tear fell from his eyes. It's too late to have regrets or turn back, so I'll keep on moving forward. His eyes turned red as he got up from his seat and marched ahead to meet his destiny. 2 days later, Konoha. Tobirama read the messenger scroll that they had received from Kirigakure with a heavy frown upon his face. Equal distrust and anxiety was visible upon the faces of his students Hiruzen and Danzo as they sat quietly in the Senju leader's private study. Every cage had agreed to bring only 4 bodyguards with them to the meeting, muttered Danzo. It was too much to ask the Mizukage to come to Iwa itself for this summit. Guess this is his way of making a powerful statement, but still bringing 4 Jinchuriki as his bodyguards. Isn't that too much and even risky? Asked Hiruzen hesitantly. Mito Uzumaki had been observing the 3 men interact amongst each other and peeked upon hearing what was just mentioned. What? She asked in surprise, earning a grim nod from Tobirama. He's bringing Mei Terumi the 6 tails, Yagura the 3 tails, Fukai the 8 tails and Yugito the 2 tails. That itself is a powerful statement. The first one is his wife and possible successor, the other 3 are people who fought against him and lost. Became, said Tobirama hesitantly. His S, finished Danzo. We all know and acknowledge Kiri's power. But this is going too far. Protested Hiruzen. I don't know, Hiruzen. The Tsuchikage is asking all of us to come into his stronghold where he has thousands upon thousands of shinobi as well as 2 Jinchuriki of his own to intimidate us. If we include the 7 tails Jinchuriki from the land of Waterfall that has aligned with him, it's a formidable power projection which the other smaller nations will not miss. The Mizukage is answering in kind, explained Danzo with an actual appreciative smile for the ballsy attitude of their foe. The land of Earth's daimyo has promised peace at the summit. He even sent his own son to our daimyo as a hostage until this summit is completed, argued Mito. His second son, not his heir, counted Tobirama, making his sister-in-law sigh tiredly. Can't we all just sit at one table and discuss about this world's future in peace? Such politics are the root cause of so much mistrust and hatred that has thousands upon thousands all over the world. Tobirama, we must stop this madness, said Mito fiercely. We will, but this is the shinobi world, Mito. With Kiri and Iwa projecting such power, we are left with no choice but to project our own even as we make full efforts to establish peace. Saru, you must take Mito as the 9 tails Jinchuriki as well as Bunpaku the 1 tails Jinchuriki. I'll come with you as well for there is no way I am letting Mito go there alone, said Tobirama seriously. All the cages of the world and every Jinchuriki and tailed beast present, this sure is going to be one hell of a summit, said Hiruzen nervously, even as he offered a firm nod to his mentor. Sensei, I support your plan. But please allow me to have a task force of our most skilled warriors on standby near the border with Iwa. A few thousand warriors at best. If things go south then can you teleport us there to evacuate you, Hiruzen, Lady Mito and Bunpaku to safety? Asked Danzo sincerely. Good thinking, Danzo. We need to have a backup in place if this blows up in our face. I'm sure the other nations including Kiri have their own strategy for such a situation. I can only transport 100 people at best with my chakra reserves since I'll need a lot of strength to protect our delegation if things turn south. Choose the finest and a small group only, instructed Tobirama. Yes, sir. The 4 of them settled into a relative silence until Hiruzen voiced a point which Tobirama had wanted to avoid. Do you think any of this is even remotely connected to the coup in Azu? Hanzo Uzumaki was overthrown so suddenly, the entire nation went silent soon after. Our messengers were turned back and they are refusing communication on the astral channel as well. One of our key allies is in turmoil. What should we do? Asked Hiruzen in concern. Hanzo Uzumaki is a key ally of ours. I say we send our own shinobi to put their house in order, suggested Danzo harshly. Danzo, you're a fool. If you try to deploy Konoha shinobi on Azu's soil my entire clan will turn against us. The Uzumaki value their freedom more than anything. They never bowed to Kumo in the past nor will they bow to us. Besides we all know what kind of a man Hanzo Uzumaki was. The best option for us is to wait and let the Uzumaki put their own house in order themselves, said Mito furiously. I agree. The situation is already fragile as it is. We will not allow it to become worse. We will deal with this post the Cage Summit, said Hiruzen decisively, making Tobirama sigh in relief. If it becomes stable before that, we may just see a new Azukage at the Cage Summit, hoped Mito. Danzo clenched his fists but refrained from speaking further on this topic when he saw Tobirama giving him a pointed stare and the unwillingness of Mito or Hiruzen to do what was necessary. If that will be all, prompted Tobirama, earning a nod from Hiruzen who got up on his feet. They were all piqued when Danzo remained seated making the former Hokage look at his radical student. Speak, he commanded. We should keep our troops ready for war. Every available man, recommended Danzo. The whole point of this summit is to stop that from continuing, Danzo. Keeping our people on edge will not only make them uneasy as well as drain our exhausted and limited resources, but also send a wrong message, argued Hiruzen disappointedly. The 4th Mizukage is a devious man, Hiruzen. It seems too easy to me that he agreed for peace so readily. I think this is all a farce and if his wishes are not fulfilled, this summit could become a B, warned Danzo. Even Naruto Namikaze won't go that far. Any aggression in that summit would be going against every nation, the entire shinobi world. It would create a hell he would never be able to escape from. His fate alongside that of Kirigako would be sealed, said Hiruzen dismissively. Are you willing to bet our nation's future on that? Said Danzo scathingly. Danzo. Tobirama s his hand on a nearby wall, making his two students to stop their quarreling and look at him with embarrassment visible on the young faces. We will think about what you have recommended, Danzo. Now go, both of you. The young boys nodded instantly before following their mentor and former Hokage's command. Tobirama sighed once they were gone. It was true that Hiruzen was the third Hokage and leader of their village, but ever since the return of his mentor he was more than happy to let the man make the tough choices. Something which Tobirama hoped his student would be strong enough to make on his own. But as the events had proved, Saru was far from ready to take up the mantle fully yet. It would be years before he was fully capable of properly governing their village all on his own. Danzo is wrong. I believe Naruto desires peace just like us. Besides, he has as much to lose if he makes the wrong decisions, said Mito confidently. The boy has changed, Mito. He was the one behind the coup in Izu, confessed Tobirama sadly. Looking at her shocked expression made the Senju clan head admit just what his son had been up to and his way of thinking after everything that had happened in the past few years. To say Mito was left speechless would be an understatement. She had to take a seat even as Tobirama offered her a glass of water to calm her nerves. Danzo is not wrong to mistrust him. I thought I knew him very well, but now I'm not so sure, admitted Tobirama, regret evident on his dismayed face. He's your son, Tobirama, said Mito gently. One that I didn't raise myself. In some ways, he has experienced more pain than I did in my life. It has made him the man he is today, and if I am being honest, he is the only man after Madara that makes me wary from the bottom of my heart. Everything the boy does has a reason, even the mistakes sometimes. I think he has joined Madara, Mito, confessed Tobirama. Mito clenched her fists upon that suggestion, having been told a few months earlier about the existence of a man who had been her husband's best friend and worst enemy at the same time. Someone whose actions forced her to become a Jinchuriki. It was fair to say she was not a fan of the former Uchiha leader by a long margin. I don't believe it, but if there is the slightest chance of this being true, then we need to do everything to protect our family and village. I will not let anyone's ambitions spoil the future of my granddaughter, said Mito fiercely. Tobirama was surprised with her resolve, for it was this very woman who had welcomed his son into their family, had been kind to him and prayed for his future. But that was before she lost Nawaki, her only grandson, to the war. Having already lost her children and husband, she only had Tsunade left apart from Tobirama. It wasn't hard to understand whom she would want to protect if things really turned bad. I understand, Mito. I'll ask Hiruzen to keep our forces ready for any eventuality, agreed Tobirama, earning a sad smile from the redhead beside him as she placed a comforting hand upon his shoulder. Don't lose hope yet, Tobirama. I'm sure if we give Naruto a chance to put across his point at the Cage Summit and try to find a way to accommodate his wishes, then we can keep our nation and family together in a new era of peace, said Mito confidently. Tobirama nodded even as a darker thought lingered in his heart. Will the other nations feel the same way, Mito? I truly wonder. Kirigako. Black Zetsu watched the fourth Mizukage keenly observing the ninja world map laid out in front of them. For all his drawbacks, the man was a gifted war strategist, something which they would desperately need if things didn't go as per his original plan. How many forces can we expect to muster? Asked Naruto seriously. 120,000. We created more white Zetsus in the past year, answered the dark creature. We'll still be heavily outnumbered. If we consider our enemies deploying maximum strength, Kiri itself can deploy nearly 60,000 troops through their legions, feudal warriors and navy. Iwa will have similar numbers, while Konoha can field 50,000 or more depending upon the sand warriors that they have merged into their ranks. Remaining smaller nations combined and the feudal warriors from various daimyos across the world will add another 60,000 or more even. Nearly 230,000, 240,000 in total, explained the Mizukage with a heavy frown. Do you truly think they'll send every available warrior and shinobi to fight us and leave their own lands with bare or no protection? Asked Black Zetsu, doubt clearly present in his voice. Yes, if you threaten their way of living, daimyo and the shinobi villages, you will have the entire world crashing down upon you like never before. They'll outnumber us nearly 2 to 1, more importantly greater than half of the enemy forces will be made up of war veterans from every nation. Compared to Zetsu's, these warriors will have more skill and experience. In an open battle, we will be quite easily, warned Naruto. We need 12 days to plan, pointed Black Zetsu honestly, drawing an incredulous look from the young Kage. You expect me to hold off the entire might of humanity for 12 days? He asked in disbelief. We are aware that it is a task, but we also know that you're the only one who can pull this off. Madara is also working on additional measures to assist you in this task, rest assured. You are Naruto the Great, there hasn't been a commander like you in ages, encouraged Black Zetsu. That doesn't give me confidence. Yes, I can make miracles sometimes, but what you are asking for is impossible. You will have to plan in less than 10 days and I'll need to come up with new tactics to even give us a chance, said Naruto worriedly. Is there any way you can convince Kirigakure to side with you? Or at least some of the legions led by your swordsmen? They are the finest and battle-hardened warriors in the world right now, suggested Black Zetsu. I don't know honestly, but I will try, agreed Naruto reluctantly, making Black Zetsu sigh in frustration. You're still hoping to talk to the Kages, try the peaceful approach and make them see reason. After everything you have seen, how can you be this naive, Naruto? Rebuked Black Zetsu harshly, earning a furious glare from the Mizukage. I will not the hope for peace without talking to the world leaders first. Humanity has a right to know what threat they face and unite for its own sake. We humans are strange beings, unable to understand danger unless it's right in front of us. More importantly, I have a plan, a goal to give to the shinobi nations. A historic feat that mankind has always dreamed of but could never achieve due to their eternal strife. Our destiny is out there in the stars, if only I can make them understand just how vast the universe is out there. All ours for exploration. Compared to that, we are living in a cage on this world. I want humanity to gain freedom from the constraints it has placed itself in, explained Naruto patiently. You're a dreamer. The fool who sought freedom, it will truly be your epitaph if you will trust the selfish Kages to believe in that vision, mocked Black Zetsu. Even so, I will try. Besides, I can be pretty convincing sometimes. If I fail, then I will help you plan to the best of my ability, said Naruto resolutely. Black Zetsu sighed even as he collected the battle plans that the Mizukage had created along with the details of the military exercises he wanted their forces to under the supervision of a clone of his that would be arriving for the preparations at their hideout. You walk a dangerous path, Naruto. The creature was further frustrated when he only received a wise smirk from the fourth Mizukage in return. May had been nursing her twins when her husband entered their house, and from the looks of it, he was not in the best state judging from the way he wobbled towards his own room. They had started sleeping separately and had barely spoken more than a few words to each other for days. With the Kage summit approaching in less than a few days, she knew she had to do something. But what was that something? It was the real question. She felt betrayed and hurt by a man she had loved with all her heart. Her initial reaction had been to rush to her father and clan to reveal Naruto's treachery, only to realize later that her clan's future were tied to the very same man. They helped him in his rise to Mizukage. Should he fall, the consequences for the Terumi family would be disastrous. She had lived through a coup and a civil war, had watched her own husband order the of the entire Karatachi clan to teach their leader Yagura a lesson for his betrayal of Lord Genjutsu. The same man was still held prisoner for life and used in Kiri's battles as an example of what it meant to betray one's Kage and nation. Compared to Yagura's treason, her husband's was much worse, for unlike Yagura, who was a son of this nation, Naruto was a spy who fooled everyone including Mei herself. That alone made her hesitate, for her children would surely pay the price for their father's sins, and that was something she could never allow. So she had to arrive at another possible solution. One which she was about to as she walked towards his room and quietly entered inside to find a sharp smell of alcohol and a half Naruto lying on the bed staring aimlessly at the ceiling. Why are you in this state? She asked frankly. Because I was feeling tensed and a bit sorry for myself. What do you care? Was the terse reply, which made her flinch, and rightly so. You've been acting more honest lately in nearly everything. The 7 ninja swordsmen or anyone else don't know anything and are making preparations to your plan. The shinobi are also quite excited for another campaign now that they have seen their families once again, answered Mei calmly, as she walked into the room, making him get up and sit on the edge of the bed. A brief respite in an endless conflict, he whispered with an amused smile. You're terrified. Naruto blinked in shock upon hearing that and looked at his wife, who had a knowing look in her calm gaze as she saw right through him. All of this is a ploy to hide just how truly terrified you are. At first, I thought it was for your own life, but you have never valued that for as long as I have known you. In fact, you are one of the crazy men who actually don't fear death and fight against the inevitable end fearlessly. You bid you when you were a boy. What could terrify someone like that? The knot within her stomach tightened as Mei watched color starting to drain from her husband's face as she approached closer and closer to the truth. So she marched forward fearlessly. You betrayed me, our marriage, but the thing worth admirable in you as a person is the fact that you love our children dearly. No matter how much I tried to believe otherwise, I just couldn't, for somewhere in my heart I know that you would rather than harming the future of our son and daughter. Or am I still wrong? Asked Mei sadly. My sins are mine to bear, Mei. And you're right about everything. I am terrified of the future and my part in it. If my attempts at negotiation fail, then I will wage a war on the entire world to create a peaceful future for my children and humanity. I'll most probably on the battlefield, in the pursuit of this dream, confessed Naruto. He was surprised to see her eyes becoming moist and the trembling of her hands worsen as she contemplated what he had just said. It was one thing to wish for his end out of anger and betrayal, but another to think of it as a reality. For somewhere deep down, there were feelings that they always had towards each other. Don't cry, Mei. It was always going to end this way for me. Ever since the day I decided to be a shinobi, it's the same for every one of us, including you. But I will break this cycle so our children could live the life I never got, a world which the Sage of Six Paths had dreamed of. A future in which humanity understood each other through the gift of chakra instead of one another using it. Mei felt the biju within her paying absolute attention to the Mizukage's words, and she didn't know what made the beast so interested suddenly. Do you always try to play the hero? She asked tearfully, making him smile as he got up and walked towards the window. I was the idiot who survived this hell. Sometimes I feel I am living a long dream, and if I just open my eyes, I can be back home. The foolish island boy who didn't know just how big, beautiful and cruel the world beyond the sea truly was. For the first time, Mei saw a glimpse of that young boy that she had seen in Azu's dossier, one who had continued fighting and kept moving forward no matter what pain or challenge got thrown at him. She could not imagine how a lifetime of war would feel, and understood just how tired this person before her was of this madness and wanted freedom from it all forever. I wish I could have given you a better life if it was within my power, she whispered honestly, which made him look back at her with a smile. It was hell but also beautiful, Mei. If I hadn't walked on this path, we would have never met, nor would our children be born. My only regret was the pain which I caused you. I don't know if you will believe me, but I came to love Kiri and its people as my own in time. They gave me everything which my own motherland took away from me and made me the man I am today, and for that I want to protect it with all my heart, which is why I want you to follow my last order. Mei was taken aback by the request, and as she listened as to what he wanted her to do, the lingering doubts within her heart about his intentions towards their family and Kirigakure became extremely clear. Is there no other way, Naruto? She asked in a resigned voice. Not if the other cages don't listen. We can't be divided and always at each other's tea until the Otsutsuki, our enemy, crashes through our front door. If we still can't find reason even at this point, then perhaps we never will. Although I wish I am proven wrong, confessed the Mizukage. He watched as his wife walked towards him until she stood in front of him and looked straight into his eyes. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive Naruto Namikaze for what he has done. As he lowered his head in guilt and shame, he was surprised when Mei touched his face gently and made him look back at her to see an honest smile upon the beautiful woman's face. But I believed and followed the fourth Mizukage with all my heart. He's this nation's greatest hero. One who changed mine and everyone's life for the better, like it or not, just as you are stuck with us. Our fate also rests upon you, whether we like it or not. This nation has a history of coups and betrayal, from the daimyos to its cages. Treachery and mistrust was all we ever knew until you came along and united us all as one people. Regardless of our situation in personal life, I still believe that you are the finest cage I have ever seen. I still am not able to come to terms with your betrayal as my husband, but as your chosen successor. The fifth Mizukage, I want to prevent the mistakes of the past from repeating themselves, confessed Mei sincerely. What are you saying? Asked Naruto in a stunned voice, and his eyes widened as he saw his wife offer him the Spartan salute. I will never allow my nation to revert back to the days of the Bee-Mist village. We have come so far, too many lives to achieve what we have today. The one who made it happen and the person who can secure the future of Kirigakure, is you, fourth Mizukage. As long as you can promise me that future for my people and our family, I shall follow you to the very end, said Mei seriously, and saw him just staring at her in shock, for he had never expected this from her in his wildest dreams. And my truth? He asked in silent disbelief. Stays between us. It took me a few days to truly understand, but our future lies with you. If you fall or are betrayed by me, then even if I or anyone else becomes the fifth Mizukage and our family survives the purge that shall follow, we'll repeat the same mistakes from history over and over again. I am ending the cycle of this nation's leaders betraying each other here, for it will only create an unstable and dark future for our children. They are all that matter to me along with my people, confessed Mei. She watched him pick up a photo of the two of them making a victorious sign with the village of Kumogakure in the background after they won that battle. A fond smile clearly visible upon his face. I chose a fine successor. I never said it out loud, but the reason I could win on the battlefield was because I knew you were perfectly governing our nation in my absence. Not too long ago, these very people hated your existence, but you never gave up or succumbed to hatred. You kept on trying and won their hearts through your actions. I forged the borders of this nation through conquest, but it was you who nurtured its very soul, said Naruto with a sincere smile, and chuckled a little when she blushed heavily upon hearing that praise. It has been an honor for all of us. Our journey began together with the Battle of Osaka to the treacherous mountain hideout of the Lightning Daimyo, to our own civil war, Battle of the Raging Seas, Battle of Haidara, Battle of Kumogakure itself, and so many more. This nation has never achieved such pinnacle of power and respect in its history, and we owe that to you, fourth Mizukage. I'm sorry it took me so long to accept and understand that beyond my personal hurt, said Mei honestly. For what it's worth, I ended that mistake long ago. Kaori no Kushina, which was her real name, was a part of Minato Namikaze's life as a fellow Spartan. She fell in love with him, but that boy long ago. You and the children are my present and future. It's more than what someone like me ever deserved. That is, if you can find it in your heart to have me again. I understand you admire the fourth Mizukage, and the Naruto I was in public, which was mostly my true personality, but this is the real me. Not that perfect, huh? He asked jokingly, making her smile. Far from it. But if we are to ever move past this and trust each other again, I need to understand everything. About your past, present, and plans for the future. Do you understand that? She asked. Certainly. Perfectly. Where do you want me to start? He asked with a welcoming smile. Tell me everything about Minato Namikaze. Your dossier only explained your background and shinobi history. You know all about my past and childhood. I want to know about yours, understand what kind of boy you were, said Mei sincerely. She was relieved when he gave her a genuine smile and guided her towards the bed, where he took a seat beside her. Only she knew how much trust she was trying to put in this person after everything he had done. Maybe he had never loved her fully as the other women in his life, but she had loved him from the bottom of her heart. It was why his betrayal hurt more than anything, but even so, she had to try to understand and make things work if she could. She owed it to her children, her clan, and her nation more than anything. She was further intrigued when he asked to connect him with the Six Tails by forging a connecting between the three of them. I wanted to hear this too, the whole truth, and make his choice as I made mine, was all he said. As soon as the Biju joined them in the meld, Naruto found himself standing beside Mei in her mindscape as the giant beast loomed over the two of them. I understand it's hard to trust my words after my past actions, but my memories can never lie. It's all I have to answer her questions as well as any of yours honestly, said Naruto seriously. I want to know more about how you plan to end this constant war among humanity and free us tailed beasts, replied the Six Tails. The answers are in my memories. Link my chakra to yours and Mei. Apart from the Yamanaka clan, you tailed beasts are the only ones to access a human's memories with your power. Humanity could have learnt it too had they not used chakra for warfare alone, said Naruto sincerely. The fact that you know this much is interesting itself. Very well, come closer both of you and touch my hands. The husband and wife did so quickly. Soon enough Mei and the Biju found themselves standing on the beautiful beaches of Azuchiogakure. She was left speechless when she saw a young boy barely 2 or 3 years old trying to take his first steps over the beach towards a young red-haired man and a beautiful blonde woman waiting for him just a few steps away. Tears arrived in her eyes when she saw how similar this boy looked to her own son Arima. It was as if they were replicas of each other. The same went for the blonde woman who was encouraging the child continuously, even as the red-headed man before her had his arms wide open towards the child. I was born here to Inoue Namikaze and my adoptive father Yahiko Uzumaki. I never knew my real father Tobirama, for my mother sought refuge in Azu when her clan was in the ending days of the clan wars era. She knew Tobirama would never be able to devote himself to her and his son, for his loyalty was always towards his country and elder brother. But I was lucky enough to have Yahiko, who treated me as his own son even when I was never his B. Mei felt her husband's voice echoing across from the sea, but she couldn't see him. Soon enough, she realized that this was probably his first memory that he still remembered. She let out a panicked scream right alongside Inoue when the child faltered in his steps. Both women wanted to rush forward to help the boy, but one was stopped by her husband while the other was stopped by the beast beside her. Come on, son. Fight, fight. Mei watched in fascination as Yahiko's words made the boy rise out of the sand and get back on his feet. There was a sea across his cheek, but not a single tear fell from those determined blue eyes which only continued to look at Yahiko, who gave him a welcoming smile. Enduring the pain, the boy kept moving forward and crashed into his adoptive father's arms with a cheerful smile, making the man raise him high in the air even as Inoue smiled tearfully. You did well, Minato. Did you see that, Inoue? Said Yahiko proudly. Mei gasped in shock as for the first time she learned that her daughter was named after her paternal grandmother. She had always imagined that Naruto had given her that name in memory of his first wife Ino, but this. She watched in silent joy as glimpses of his memories with his parents were shown to her and the Biju. Even as an observer, she felt the joy and love within his heart upon the birth of his brother in the hospital, the values of strength and honor being imparted to him by Yahiko, ones he taught to many in Kiri to this day. Despite Azu being at war with Kumogakure, their parents always found time to care for the boys. She saw his bond with the Uzumaki clansmen as they helped teach him how to use chakra and in turn be fascinated by his potential with water style in particular. It was a beautiful life until she watched him visiting AS Yahiko in the hospital. Mortally injured while protecting his comrades against an endless war with Kumogakure. Even as Yahiko asked him to follow the values of the Uzumaki clan as his wish: family, duty, honor. Mei felt an unending hatred coming to life within his innocent heart as he performed the man's last rites and lit his funeral pyre. The innocent and calm blue eyes that she loved so much disappeared to be replaced by a vengeful red gaze that night. I was so young and couldn't understand why my father had to like that in so much pain. I still don't understand sometimes why it had to happen, whispered Naruto sadly, as the present version of him appeared beside them for the first time. Because humans are self-destructive creatures, answered the Six Tails. It is why we must save them, replied Naruto with determination. The death of Yahiko Uzumaki brought his wife Inoue out of retirement. With the war coming closer and closer to their home, she and her sons became shinobi to revenge Yahiko and protect their nation. It was then the first Azuchage Hanzo and the higher-ups of Azu saw the serious potential in Minato as he proved his skill on the battlefield. A prodigy in every sense. She watched how Inoue fiercely opposed the desires to recruit her son into the first Special Forces program of Azu, knowing it would only cause her eldest more pain than he had already endured in his short life so far. In many ways, some of her powers were inherited by her eldest son, like the Harashin technique of her clan, but chakra absorption was something he had in his own. While her younger son, Nagato, had his own Kekai Genkai, which he named Ash Release, a power Mei curiously noted was now also possessed by her husband. She was heartbroken on seeing Inoue's death in the next few months and how badly it affected her sons, especially Minato. She could not imagine how would her own children feel if they lost their parents one after another in such tragic and painful ways. It would change them forever. May watched Minato volunteering for the Spartan program in the hopes of becoming more stronger, for he blamed himself for being weak and unable to protect either of his parents. The hatred for Kumogakure had infected his heart deeply, and he was ready to become a devil himself if it got him his vengeance. Something which the Azuchage and the elders used without hesitation. She could hardly watch the brutal experiments and harsh training that he underwent alongside Nagato, Kushina, whom she knew as Kaori the Uzumaki mercenary, and the other candidates. The hardship forged a bond between the young shinobi as they once again entered the flames of war to save everything they loved. Enemy after enemy, battle after battle, victory after victory, so much death and pain. She had heard stories about the first great ninja war from her parents and clansmen. It made her feel guilty, as while she was safe in her home, her husband had already suffered so much and was risking his life almost every day on the battlefield. Even so, his skill and leadership only matured with every battle. And then came the Battle of Razangla. It reminded her somewhat of their own omission to Kei the Lightning Daimyo in his mountain hideout, where he was protected by his personal guard. They had good intel, the Spartans had received slim to none. Even so, those shinobi stayed true to their mission, following Minato's orders faithfully. The full might of the Kinkaku and Kumogakure's best armies descended down upon him as she watched the most brutal retreat of her life. She felt his pain and helplessness as his friends S themselves one after another in the face of a relentless enemy to save their nation and fellow Spartans. For days, they retreated, losing more and more brethren until they were surrounded at Razangla by Raijin Battalion and the Two Tails. Most shinobi would have surrendered in the face of such monstrosity, but even at half strength and barely any capability to fight, the Spartans led by Nagato and Kushina made their last stand, bravely allowing Minato to get away with Hashirama. Tough bastards, praised the Six Tails, even as she felt its anger over how the Kumogakure forces were using the Two Tails. The Spartans valiantly, yet even in the end they Raijin Battalion in a final testament of their skill. The Six Tails felt greatly uncomfortable when Minato returned and his brethren without any mercy and out of vengeance. The two-tailed beast's agony was far greater than those of the ones controlling it, yet even as took his revenge and fought against the Kinkaku that arrived later, Minato was completely broken when his brother sickbed to his wounds. I was the idiot that survived this hell. She remembered his words just a few minutes before and could now understand them truly as he lost his will to live, seeing the corpse of his beloved brother and all his comrades on that battlefield. He wanted to there, but the Senju brothers Hashirama and Tobirama came back with reinforcements and saved his life, with Tobirama even asking him to continue fighting to revenge his fallen comrades. She was more horrified watching how this was the final straw and how it broke him, how his own cage used him to cover his own decisions, and how Minato nearly killed himself until he was given one final mission to redeem himself over the death he brought to his comrades by taking up that mission in the first place. May watched him arrive in Kiri next and begin his infiltration. At first he truly was a spy who didn't care about this nation, but in time his true nature did come out. In order to protect his own sanity and broken heart, he started believing that he was one of them and started caring about them sincerely, much to the worry of his first wife Ino, who, much to May's continued shock, a Konoha spy planted to not just spy on her nation but also keep the future Mizukage sane and in line, but even she with all her training and composure fell in love with the man. After nearly a decade of loneliness, he found someone who loved the real and broken him without any judgment. Someone who accepted him for what he was and supported him as best as she could. The fact that she truly had his back as a true wife and not just as a fake one and a fellow operative made him love her back unconditionally. Her death while protecting her comrades from the death squads that Lord Genjutsu had sent out to weed out spies from their village broke him once again. Ironically, the entire campaign to flush out hidden agents failed to reveal the biggest one of them all, thanks to Ino's She saw how he bonded with Tobirama and how Konoha betrayed him by lying to his face about his wife's survival when she had long ago, how Kushina came back into his life and what Azu did to her, which made him decide to finally take action against the Azuchage. How a life of lies and betrayal made him lose faith in this world, and that's when Madara came along with his plan. May and even the Six Tails were left speechless upon witnessing the Uchiha and his strange comrade bringing the Spartans back to life with the help of Edo Tensei Jutsu created by Tobirama Senju. How he offered to bringing everyone Minato had ever cared about back to life if he supported his plan. His parents, his brother, his friends and comrades. Help me achieve my goal and I promise you will get to see them all once again. I'll give you back everything you lost and save your children from this messed up world. Chakra exists in every one of us. Some are able to harness its power and become shinobi. Others simply can't, but it still exists within them. Get me all the tailed beasts. If we can combine their power with my Rinnegan, I'll be as strong, or even more than the Sage of Six Paths himself. With that power, I'll connect every human to each other through the chakra within them. The sage wanted humanity to use this power that he bestowed upon us for good and peace, but we didn't. So I'll link humanity to each other via a joint conscious. People will be able to understand each other without words and truly see into each other's hearts instead of lies. Finally, using that very same connection will force humanity to make a vow renouncing war among itself till the eternity. They will be able to defend each other against their enemies, but never will man raise a weapon against another fellow human, Madara had said with conviction. What happens to the tailed beasts if we succeed? I want them to be freed. It's what the sage would have wanted, Naruto had replied earnestly. They shall be free to live their own lives as long as they promise to come to humanity's aid against all its enemies, be they Otsutsuki or anyone else in the future. As descendants of the Sage of Six Paths, heirs of Uchiha and Senju clans, it is our duty to bring an end to thousands of years of war within humanity. Naruto, you and I are the same. We lost our families and friends to this cruel world. No matter what hell this world makes us endure, we shall keep moving forward and save it regardless. I am fighting for the future of the clan which I swore to protect to my brother and also the people of the nation which I founded with Hashirama, even if they hate my very guts. But I feel that you are still hesitant. Madara had said. I just want to avoid unnecessary conflict. Enough has already been done in the name of justice or vengeance, which are two sides of the same coin. I want humanity to choose peace on its own. We owe them the freedom to make that decision at least once we lay all facts before them. Let me talk to the cages of the world. I'll try to make them understand and humble myself if it means saving more lives, replied Naruto desperately. Madara had sighed in defeat but given a nod nonetheless. The rest of his memories answered all her remaining questions. She was left speechless upon seeing Madara actually upholding his promise and bringing her husband's family and loved ones back to life with the help of his Rinnegan. Watched the Mizukage freeing Kushina from her suffering of an impossible love and giving everyone he loved a new chance at life, asking them to forgive and forget the boy that they knew once upon a time was a strange feeling. He even managed to revive his former wife Ino, who still loved him dearly and didn't oppose his plan, but wanted him to try talking to the world once, even as she wasn't sure what she wanted to do with her life, upon which he gave her the freedom she wanted with a smile to make that choice for herself. She learned his true thoughts as to why he revealed only a part of the truth to her that night. If he failed to convince the cages, he was going to attack them all. In order to protect Kiri, their comrades, her and the children from the brutal conflict, he wanted her to feel betrayed and reveal his truth to everyone else, thereby securing the future and freedom for herself, their children and their comrades alongside Kiri itself, even if it meant turning him into a monster in the eyes of everyone else when he was not one completely. Much to her astonishment, it was the tailed beast who spoke before her when the memories came to an end. You've been suffering this whole time, just like us tailed beasts, whispered the Six Tails sadly. I meant what I said back then during our fight in the Civil War. I want to see all tailed beasts freed. Humanity took away your freedom and used your powers for abominable destruction. This practice gave birth to Jinchurikis and made my wife suffer for most of her life as well. Do you believe me now, Six Tails? Asked Naruto earnestly. Saiken, that is my name. Call me by that, said the Biju in a friendly manner. Then call me Naruto, Saiken. The Mizukage smiled happily when the beast shook his head and gave him a nod of acceptance, which was all that was needed to be said, which made the man turn towards his crying wife. Naruto, as much as I admire your desire to support me and make Kiri involved, that is not the right choice. If talks fail and I truly have to fight the shinobi world, then Kiri needs to stand aside and turn against me, requested Naruto. Why? Asked Mei in despair. Because it is easier to blame one man than a f-up system. I don't want Kiri to be isolated by the world. Even if I succeed in bringing peace with Madara, it will surely happen if you stand with me against all other nations. I cast aside Azu and my family for the same reason. For the sake of our children and Kirigakure, as my wife and the fifth Mizukage Mei, you must make the most difficult choice. Family, duty, honor. The meaning of those words is clear to me now more than ever, said Naruto gently. You're asking me to watch us? No. Play an actual part in your demise? Asked Mei in horror. We'll try to make the world leaders understand peacefully first. If they don't, Madara and I have our own army and other resources to complete our plan successfully. There is no need for me to trust me, I'll be back in less than 2 weeks at best, lied Naruto cheerfully. Don't try to be a hero, Naruto. Being one your entire life has only brought you pain and suffering. Humanity can't afford to lose its finest commander right when the Otsutsuki will be arriving to kill us all. Fighting against the whole world will get you killed. I don't want our children to grow up without knowing the love of a father like you did. I also want peace, but not at the cost of KU. How will I ever be able to look our children in the eyes afterwards? You want us all to be free, but KU is not the freedom I or anyone else wants. If you truly want to help us, then look at surviving beyond this mission and let us help you. Lead us all against the Otsutsuki, for humanity will need a devil of its own to face those monsters. You lost your father Yahiko at such a young age. Do you truly want to disappear from our children's lives before they can even remember you? Asked Mei fiercely, even as tears fell from her eyes. She's right, Naruto. You can't do it all alone despite all your talents, advised Saiken. Just as he was about to avert his gaze, Mei came forward and grasped his face as the tailed beast ended that connection as he found himself back in their room. For better or worse, I am your wife. I swore to stand by you in good or bad times. More importantly, I want our children to grow up under a loving father's shadow, something which was stolen from you. I want you to continue leading Kiri, for I have now seen what a good leader can do for a nation, and what a bad one did to Azu in the past. That is my choice and I want you to respect that, said Mei tearfully. You stubborn woman, whispered Naruto with a faint smile, even as he hugged her fiercely. Promise me, Naruto, she asked once again. Very well. I would like to meet your family as well once this mess is behind us. They have as much of a right to meet our children, said Mei happily. They will love you, he replied truthfully. I hope so, replied Mei nervously. She watched him break the hug to look into her eyes with true gratefulness visible in his own. We're a team. No more secrets between us from here on out, understood? Asked Mei seriously, to which he nodded. Good. Now shut up and K me. I'm horny. He laughed happily without hesitation, and the sight alone made Mei didn't regret her decision, followed by smiling herself as he came forward and K her passionately. Next day. It was early morning when Naruto was woken up with a knock at his door. Brushing off the sleep from his eyes, he was happy to see Mei sleeping next to him and clinging onto him tightly. A smile came upon his lips as he remembered what happened last night and how far she was willing to go for him even after everything he had done. The knock came more rapidly now, and it also made her grumble in annoyance, an act which he silenced by K her gently, which made her open her eyes and smile for a moment. Get dressed. We have visitors, he whispered with an amused smile. For F's sake, can't they leave us alone for one morning? She complained heatedly. You married the Mizukage, darling. Privacy is an illusion, teased Naruto, only to have a pillow smacked against his face. Then F you too. Now go and see who disturbed our morning, she ordered, making him raise an eyebrow in surprise. Cranky, are we today, darling? He was out of the bed in an instant the moment she narrowed her eyes at him, and even went as far as drowning her in more covers even as he walked towards the door in nothing but an underwear, and smirked when their maid blushed severely when he met her with an amused smile. Lord 4th, Jinpachi, Amayuri and Kisame here. Said they needed your help urgently, said the poor woman. Get them comfortable. I'll be with them shortly, he answered calmly. The maid simply nodded before literally running for her life, which made him confused, for he had answered her quite calmly. However, turning around, he discovered why when he saw Mei glaring B and understood why the poor woman had ran for her life. It was lesson their staff would learn very well, not to disturb the lady of their house after a special night with her husband. Something which the 7 ninja swordsmen would learn soon enough, which made him chuckle. Jinpachi and Amayuri looked uncomfortable when they saw Mei looking at them sharply from the opposite end where she was seated on a couch with her husband. Unlike the two of them, Kisum was only staring at the Mizukage and was unfazed even as he saw the young Kage giving the three of them a knowing smile. What brings you to our home so early today? Asked Naruto curiously. Do tell, quipped Mei, sarcasm ever present in her voice which made the three swordsmen grimace and Naruto to pat her knee gently. I'm sure they must have important reasons. Kisum jumped at the olive branch that was offered by their Kage in order to avoid the ire of his pissed-off wife, which was warranted in his opinion considering it was barely 7 a.m., not that he would show it openly to anyone. We're here for Mangetsu and Haku. Specifically, we need your help in getting them married discreetly, said Kisum straightforwardly, making Mei's anger vanish instantly and a warm smile arriving on her lips. Naruto meanwhile simply looked curious. I always knew those two had feelings for each other. Just didn't think they would move on this so soon, said Naruto respectfully. I think the same. But it is their choice, suggested Jinpachi with a shrug. It's just if things turn to S at the Kage Summit, we'll be in a bigger fight than before with many other nations, maybe all of them in worst case. Some of us may not come back from that, said Amayuri honestly. Amayuri, replied Naruto hesitantly, making the woman shake her head fiercely. We are with you regardless, Lord Fourth. Honored to fight and proud to S alongside you if need be, we trust you'll make the right choice for all of us and this nation. You always have. It's just those two want to fulfill their wish of being with each other and fulfill their dream, but we barely have a few days left before we need to move our legions in position. If we go for a full traditional wedding, it would force us to invite a lot of important guests from various clans and across the nation, most of whom don't know of our plan and would definitely ask us to reschedule this wedding considering such a short notice. Refusing them openly would damage the relations between them and Hozuki and Yuki clans, explained Amayuri in detail. And since Naruto is the ruler of this nation in every sense, no one would question or criticize a wedding which he approved and organized. Why didn't they come to us personally? Asked Mei curiously. They're right outside your gate with Zabuza. We're just nervous in disturbing you so early, said Jinpachi sheepishly. Never for something as noble as this. I'll bring them in right away, said Mei happily, and looked at her husband once who just nodded with a smile. As she went away to bring the remaining swordsmen inside their home, Naruto couldn't help but be amused at the way these shinobi had acted before him. They were one of the finest and fiercest warriors he had fought alongside, confident generals in their own right who could face armies on their own, but became nervous about organizing a wedding for two of their own. So they sent you in as bait to take the heat from either me or Mei first. Good idea, whose was it? Asked Naruto amusedly. Haku and Mangetsu wanted to come to you regardless of your reaction. Zabuza gave them this idea and convinced us as well. Sorry, Lord Fourth, answered Kisum hesitantly. Before the man could reply, his wife brought in the remaining swordsmen and he clearly saw the deep blushes on Mangetsu and Haku's faces even as Mei assisted them in taking a seat and guided Zabuza in doing the same. The lady of the house was in full action now as she then guided the maids to serve a nice breakfast for the guests, much to the relief of some of them, especially Jinpachi, who gave a sheepish smile. It was a good tactic to make everyone more relaxed and give time to the two young ones to compose themselves, for which Naruto gave his wife a grateful nod in return which made her smile. He still saw Mangetsu hesitating and decided to put the boy out of his misery. I'm happy for both of you. You're perfect for each other, said the fourth Mizukage honestly, making two of his generals smile in relief and happiness. Thank you, Lord Fourth. I wish I could have come to you with this under better circumstances, answered Mangetsu regardless, even as Haku squeezed his hand gently. It's never too late to get married. When you find the right one, just go for it. And you were smart in coming to the right person for organizing a discreet wedding. I do have some connections to make it happen in this week, said Naruto with a playful wink. Everyone including Zabuza couldn't help but laugh openly at the subtle joke which made Naruto smile as well. Let me know whatever you need. We'll get it done, no matter what, promised Mei with a cheerful smile. I will, Lady Mei. I have a personal request as well, said Haku nervously. Name it, replied Mei warmly, making Haku scratch the back of her head in embarrassment. You and Amayuri are my closest female friends. I would like to ask the two of you to be my bridesmaids, please. Naruto shook his head when Mei teared up and instantly went forward to hug Haku fiercely. Even the stone-cold Amayuri became teary-eyed as she offered a faint nod to her fellow swordsmen and general even as the men looked on in silent comfort. I want you to be my best man as well, Lord Fourth. I don't have any brothers, but if I did have an elder brother, I would have wanted one like you. You supported my father, helped avenge him, took me under your wing, saved my life, groomed me for command and didn't abandon me even when I made grave mistakes and nearly lost myself to hatred and sorrow after what happened to my father. Will you stand with me once again? Asked Mangetsu earnestly. Always, Mangetsu. It would be my honor, replied Naruto happily, even as he tried to hold back the tears in his eyes, making Mei arrive by his side and hold his hand. Even so, he was still overwhelmed as tears now fell from his eyes. Lord Fourth, whispered many of his comrades in concern, some even getting up to come to his side only to have him raise a hand to stop them and offer a grateful smile. I'm just happy and grateful. I had lost everything when I came to Kiri and had isolated myself for years in the Anbu Black Ops to keep myself away from people and getting attached in order to not feel pain again upon losing them. But meeting you all changed my life, gave me a desire to connect once again. I could have never achieved any of this without every one of you at my side. You're my family and I want you to lead long and happy lives in peace, that's all, whispered Naruto honestly. Zabuza lowered his gaze in guilt even as the others smiled or teared up on hearing what the Mizukage just said to them all. Remembering all their battles together, how he had risked his own life every time to keep them safe, what kind of a spy did that? Weren't spies supposed to weaken their enemies instead of making them a superpower? This man had done more for Kiri than any of their previous cages or shinobi had ever contributed. He didn't know what was right or wrong anymore, and this strife within his heart had not only lost him a commanding position in the legions and get transferred to take command of the navy, but also set him apart from his fellow swordsmen. They still tried their best to keep him included, but he knew there was a distance between them now because of his continued mistrust of the Mizukage. Had he really risked all of that just over the words of A.S. Kumogaku officer? No point lamenting over it now, it was already done. You too, Zabuza. He blinked in shock and looked up to see the Mizukage himself standing before him offering his hand and a friendly smile much to the surprise of everyone else as well and a pleased smile from the man's wife. After everything that happened? Asked Zabuza hesitantly. Even after that. I was irked by your behavior but I never doubted your leadership. I gave you the navy to keep my lines of communication to Kiri safe. More importantly, I wanted you to gain much needed experience which you have now in that kind of warfare. The role you shall play in my plan if things don't go well at the Cage Summit is the most important of all. I trust you with my life, of our family and this nation's fate. Can you trust me to do the same? Asked Naruto seriously. You can, Lord Fourth. And for what it's worth I am sorry for my actions. Replied Zabuza guiltily. Show our enemies the demon of the mist that I respect and we'll call it even. Zabuza straightened up and got up on his feet to shake the hand of his cage. He was further relieved and pleased when he saw every one of his comrades and Mei smiling at him approvingly, making an invisible burden vanishing from his heart. Dysfunctional, psychotic and even crazy as they all were, they were still the closest to what he had to a family and he was glad to be back in the circle once again. Every one of them grinned when the maids brought in champagne and they picked each of the glasses after Naruto picked his one first. To Mangetsu, cheered Naruto with a wide smile. To Haku, roared Mei enthusiastically. To your amazing married life, yelled Amayuri with wild laugh. To your memorable wedding and a bright future, said Jinpachi with a smirk. To our family, cheered Zabuza with a true smile, even as Naruto clapped his shoulder happily, making the man nod gratefully in return. Haku and Mangetsu nodded at each other as they got up from their seats to join the rest of their comrades. To family, said Haku thankfully. To the 7 ninja swordsmen. Mangetsu thought for a second if he had made a mistake when all his comrades just stared at him, making Haku squeeze his hand gently, which proved to be the right comfort as a moment later his family roared the name of a power that had shaken the ninja world again and again. To the 7 ninja swordsmen. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.